In 1884, a group of fat, greedy, white men in Germany sat together in a dark room for an important meeting. They came together to celebrate their achievements in attaining a level of greed and human subjugation that would make their ancestors proud. And between the appetizers and the desserts, they were also going to discuss how to carve up an entire continent like a Thanksgiving turkey in the hands of a toddler. One thing about the Berlin Conference, the representation was absolutely wonderful. We had kings, rulers, and powerful men from Germany, Britain, France, Portugal, Belgium, and even the USA. Truly wonderful representation. Of course, with such wonderful representation, one might be fooled into believing that the vast swathe of land that was to be divided was in Europe, or at least somewhere close, right? Well, no. The land was in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the story of the Berlin Conference, aka the biggest land theft in history. You see, by the late 1800s, European countries were out scrambling for Africa, like Black Friday shoppers fighting over a flat screen TV. Britain, France, Portugal, Belgium, everybody wanted a piece. Naturally, things began to get messy. Border disputes, mini wars, and occasional enslavements of regions after regions. Things would have surely gone out of hand, but one guy said, "Come on, guys, why don't we chill out for a bit, okay? We're better than this. Sure, we're thieves, but we can be civilized thieves. Let's make this organized." This sensible man who insisted on honor amongst thieves was Otto von Bismarck, Germany's first chancellor, and the original, "let's take a deep breath and be civil about our theft" guy. In 1884, Herr Bismarck invited 14 European powers to Berlin to not only figure out how to steal African lands, subjugate its people, and send the continent into centuries-long destabilization, but to do so with dignity, like a civilized community. And so, for the next 4 months, the honorable and civilized greedy men sat in a room and played a real-life game of let's draw a line with blindfolds on. Once the conference was over, the real scramble for Africa began. The Europeans divided the country like a delicious cake, digging their knives in and slashing wherever the knives land, not caring at all what the implications are for anyone other than themselves. France took a big slice, Britain grabbed the premium cuts, Portugal got the leftovers, and Germany, well, they got a few snacks. But of course, there were rules, very serious rules. Each country had to actually control the land to claim it. You couldn't just call dibs and call it a day, which was a big bummer for the French, who especially liked calling dibs. The borders, drawn like a drunk man's map, would soon lead to major disasters. Tribes that hated each other were now in the same country. Families were split between different colonies. Things began to fall apart. The Berlin Conference was the biggest land theft in history. And it didn't just mess up Africa for a few years. It did so for centuries and continues to do so today. The artificial borders, colonial economies, and ethnic divisions are still affecting the continent to this very moment.